Alright guys, Epic here. In today's video I want to talk about some character balance changes that will be coming to the 1.4 update. And there's quite a lot to go through, so I have only just picked out what I think you guys want to hear and what are the most important parts. If you want to see the full notes, then please check out the link in the description. So the first one I want to start off with is gear changes. So as of right now, the gear is one of the reasons why the game is so broken. Okay, so some of the main changes that are going to be coming, as I said, I'm just going to be going over sort of a general feel of what's happening here. I can't go over every single thing. But from now on, all gear in World Tier 2, okay, so I believe that's 163 upwards, when that gear drops, the gear will have all three base stats. That includes firearms, stamina, and electronics. Basically means that you can sort of scale it up all at once, as opposed to having really high stamina, really high firearms. It sort of gives you that progression. Other bonuses like, crit hit chance and headshot damage will be scaled down, obviously to fit the new game balance. If you remember, the NPCs will actually be a lot weaker in the 1.4, so this kind of does need to be brought down a little bit, which is understandable. Gear will lose their skill bonuses, but gear like backpacks, holsters and knee pads will gain new performance mod slots, which is really good because performance mods in the game currently just have no purpose. No one uses them, and I've probably deconstructed all of mine. I'll have to check. But yeah, in the new update they will be of use, and I believe the stats on those performance mods will also be bettered, so that it gives you more customization from what you want, and that's really good. Gear sets will have the gear score adjusted. If you watch my last division video, you'll know that. So 268 will now be 229. It sort of gives the high end stuff. It gives the gear sets and the high ends sort of can come together, and you get the same sort of stats, which is also good. I believe high-end gear talents have been rebalanced. The actual specific details of those gear talents I'm not entirely sure yet, but that's really good that they've looked into them, because obviously there were some gear talents which were very good and others which weren't so good. And finally, they are getting rid of scavenging, which is great because it has no purpose. I believe they tried to obviously try and work it in and try and find a solution, but it didn't work out, so they decided to get rid of it altogether, which is really good. On the subject of gear changes, I do want to talk about two pieces of gear sets that are coming out in 1.4 and their stats. So let me bring these up on screen and we'll have a look at them. So here we have Firecrest, guys, the new changes. As you can see, it's a massive change from what it was before. So two-piece, we have +3 incendiary grenade capacity, which is what it was before. Now the three-piece is a massive change, +50% flame turret range and +30% flame turret damage. That's a massive change, and I'm really glad they've actually put this in. Firecrest will become my go-to, I think, which is good because I currently have a good Firecrest build. Now, the flame turret as of right now is no one uses it, simply because it's got really crap health. It's destroyed instantly and it doesn't do enough. The range is awful. The damage isn't that great. So this is a really big change. Obviously, with this, they haven't, from what I know, I don't think they've got anything which increases flame turret health apart from mods. So it might be that you put your mods into flame turret health, and then you obviously have your Firecrest build. You get that range, you get that damage, and then if you've got 4 pieces, you get 15% damage to enemies on fire. Now, the notes or the actual gear set reads your damage, so it's not team-based. So if you're in a team, then your whole team doesn't get 15%, because on that person on fire or enemy or player, that would just be OP. It is just your damage. So that's a really good thing to have, and I am absolutely certain I'll be running this in PvP, especially with some other changes that are coming, which I'll need to talk to you about. But that for me is a new piece coming out, and I'm really happy they're making these changes. You've got to let me know what you think. What we'll do is we'll move on to the striker, which some of you are going to be very angry about, but I'm really happy that they've got these changes coming out as well. Okay, so here we go. Striker, I know everyone's going to be pissed, but the two-piece, you have +20% stability, and 3-piece +10% enemy armor damage, and the last 4-piece is the same as what it always has been, as you can read on screen here. Now, I know people are going to be raging, but I'm over the moon with these changes to Striker, and I believe Sentry's also got some good changes. What they were going for is the 2-piece should be like a utility perk, something which can help, and it shouldn't just be stat based, it should just help the player. So plus 20% stability obviously is really good on an AR, for example, and I still think this set will be viable, especially in PvE, and that's what Strikers sort of, this has become a PvE, sort of gear set now. I'm really happy with this. So plus 10% enemy armor damage, which is great. I mean, as the enemies are going to be easy anyway, so this will really help. And I think this one, as I said, I will be using in PvE. Now, I realise people are going to be angry, but you got to understand the reason why NPC health was so high, along with the skill. Well, the reason being, one of the main reasons being skills were so OP, was Striker and Sentry were just over the top. Same as in PvP, Striker and Sentry, that's what all everyone ran. It was just too OP and it's not balanced at all. I realise people have probably got some good Striker Sentry builds, so I'm sorry. But that's the changes, guys, so enjoy. So guys, let's move on to weapons. In the 1.4 experience, they were hoping to get you back to that 1-30 feel, where it felt more like a shooter, which is something I really want the game to be, as I'm sure every single person does. Currently, in the meta of the Division, there are 2 main weapons. SMGs, you've got the MP7, and your sniper, you've got the M1A, and really there isn't any other viable option unless you're doing PvE, in which assault rifles are good, you've got a G36 and whatnot. However, PvP, you're looking at MP7, M1A, and that's really it, apart from, your overpowered shotguns. So they are doing some massive changes, which I'm really happy they are doing. One of the big changes that's coming out is, for example, at the moment you get like different varieties of stability. You get horizontal stability, initial bullet, and your standard stability. Also with accuracy, you get hipfire accuracy and accuracy. So from now on, there will just be one of each. So there'll be stability and accuracy, and that's it. There's no other stuff. So it's just less complicated, to be honest, which is really good, and I'm glad they're cleaning that side of things up. Now, the DPS formula that everyone uses, and I've made plenty of videos on how to get the best DPS, that's, it was fairly broken. But they are trying to change it. So the DPS formula on weapons has been introduced, like a new formula, but they said it's a work in progress. So, and I'm sure that will change over time, but they are trying to make it different so that it does give you a clear indication of what your current damage per second is, and it's not just inflated by, for example, like accuracy, which assumes then that you're hitting every single one of those bullets, as opposed to you not hitting them. So that's a really good change. Your MP7 and M1A, from what I understand, they are going to be getting nerfed. Well, I say nerfed, but their base damage is going to be coming down, simply because they have, for example, your MP7 and M1 have good handling rolls. M1As are very easy to handle, same with MP7, so it doesn't make sense that you'd have some with good handling but also very good damage. It would be better that if it's got good handling, then the damage is lower because you are going to be hitting more bullets, whereas, for example, ARs, which have the handling's obviously less so, then the damage should be higher because it's harder to handle. That kind of gives it more balance, so I'm glad they're bringing out that. They won't be changing anything about named weapons, from my understanding, or they're saying at the moment nothing will change in the update. I don't know if something will in the long run, but that's what they're saying at the moment. Weapon mods at the moment come with like 2 major bonuses, from what I understand, while in the new update it will be coming with 1 major bonus and then an amount of smaller bonuses. They haven't said how many amounts, it might just be 2 smaller bonuses, and that will obviously depend on the quality of the mod that you're actually getting, which is really good. Damage bonuses, for example, you got headshot damage and whatnot, from now on will be additive as opposed to multiplicative. I think I said that properly. Maybe, which is really good because that will reduce like the spikes in damage that you currently get, and that's what also is how the NPCs were balanced based on those increases in damage, those massive spikes. And now that NPCs will actually be made easier, that makes much more sense. And I want to talk about weapon talents as well. Weapon talents are going to be rebalanced. I'm not sure how. I believe some of them are going to get buffs, some of them are going to be reduced. They're just going to try and balance them out. And from what I understand, the identity of the gear will remain the same, but the scale of stats and bonuses might actually change. I know that's a bit vague, but at the moment they're not giving too much away, to be honest. It is kind of just, this is happening, that ain't happening, and they're not saying specific numbers, so I'm sorry I can't give you specific numbers, but there are some major changes coming to weapons, as there are with armour. I'll just quickly go over armour, and I'll tell you what's happening with that as well. So moving on to armour, there are some big changes coming to armour, and I think they're needed because armour mitigation in the game is, again, another reason why NPCs were so strong. If you can mitigate 75% damage input and damage from NPCs, then the NPCs need to be a lot stronger, which for people who don't have the armour cap, you know, unfortunately they're going to get shredded. So in the new meta, I believe armour is going to be less of a factor, and in fact your stamina will actually be the main source of your health, which was really good, because the thing is, with the current armor, it makes creating a tanky character really easy, but you can still do a lot of damage because you're actually only going for the armor. That's the main thing that you're going for, which means you don't actually have to sacrifice any firearms or electronics. So in the new build, you'll have to actually spec in stamina to get that increase in health and that health that you're going to need, which means you're going to have to sacrifice firearms and electronics, which I'm glad they're bringing out. It actually means that, you know, the tanky character meta that's currently in the game will no longer be there, or at least it won't be as prevalent anymore. From what I can tell as well, armor value will have different results of damage mitigation depending on the world tier you're in. So for example, you're in world tier 4 and you have 75% damage mitigation. If you're in world tier 2, they will be different. In world tier 4, that value won't have as significance as it would in, say, tier 2. That's my understanding of armor. I'm glad they're bringing it out, because armor at the moment is the main source of your survivability. That will no longer be the same. Just to recap, it will be stamina. That will be your main source of survivability, which means you will have to sacrifice firearms and electronics, and that for me is a big plus. So, as many of you know, skills or pulse or smart cover or first aid are the reason, or the main reason in my opinion, why the game is so broken. They increase your DPS vastly, and they also increase your survivability vastly, and that's why NPCs are so bloody difficult to kill now, because they have to have such increased DPS because of the fact that you have those pulses. That's why they're killing you so quickly, and it's not right, and they are making some major changes to skills. One of the major changes is skill power. So at the moment you can get skill power from like your backpack, for example. I believe mine has about 7,000, and you can also get it from various other places without actually having to invest much in electronics. I currently have very low electronics, however my skill power is around 18,000-20,000, which means, you know, you're not actually having to trade anything off in order to get good skill power, which isn't great, because what they don't want is, for example, like now, having someone with great skill power and also very tanky. That wouldn't be fair. You need to have trade-offs. That's, you know, just like before. You need to have trade-offs. That makes sense. So, as of right now, what they will be doing is they are increasing the amount of skill power needed to make your skills as efficient as they were in 1.3, and they are increasing skill power gained from electronics. I believe they are actually getting rid of skill power from other places, so you actually need to sort of invest in electronics in order to get skill power, and that is good, because it means you'll have to trade off stuff like firearms and stamina. So if you want a skill build, you're probably going to have to lower your firearms a lot and potentially lower your stamina a lot in order to get that high skill power that you're after. What they're also doing is, at the moment, skill power increases in a very linear fashion. So an example being, if you increase your skill power by 7,000, then your skills will increase with that 7,000. It just goes straight up. There's no like diminishing returns. There's no curve. So from now on, what they will be doing is, for example, if you have 50,000 skill power and you want to increase it more and more and more, then yes, you can do that, but the stats won't go up. Say, for example, they went up by 10, they'll only go up by 3 and then 2 and then 1, and you'll get diminishing returns. So it'll become to a point when, yes, you can increase your skill power by 5,000, but the actual return you're getting from that is so minor, you might as well put it into firearms or stamina, for example. And I believe that's really good, because skill power at the moment is broken in the game. Now, moving on to actual skills, at the moment, first aid overdose is obviously the most used. Then you have your pulse, tactical scanner, and you have your smart cover, and they are broken. Let's start with first aid, for example. It is bugged. You can shoot your first aid on the floor, run in and out of it a couple of times, and then proc with triage, you get it back straight away, and that's not how it should be. So what they're actually doing is, if you shoot your first aid and you run in it, it goes away. But to balance it, they're actually increasing the amount of heal, or the base heal that you get from it, which is great. I'm really glad they're bringing that out. And from what I know as well, there will be no delay with it anymore. It will be instantaneous. Obviously, the other two skills, Pulse and Smart Cover, are going to be updated massively. Pulse gives you so much DPS, and so does Smart Cover, and it's not fair. Now, Smart Cover will actually be more of a defensive skill from now on. From what I can tell, they're saying that it will actually buff the team's damage mitigation by about 30 to 35%, which is great. The damage buff will be removed, and it will be replaced by stuff like weapon stability and accuracy buffs, utility perks, which is really good, instead of just straight up base damage, which is just too bad. Pulse, which provides you with your critical hit chance and damage buffs, will be nerfed. It will actually decrease the amount of damage you can output, which is understandable. NPCs are going to be easier anyway, so that kind of makes sense, and I'm glad they're bringing out these changes. I want to talk to you as well about the other first aid that's coming out. I believe the first aid that you put on the floor. Can't exactly remember what it's but in PvP from now on, what they are trying to do, if you're solo and you've got it down, you'll actually be able to self-revive, which I think that's it. Support station. They're increasing the amount of healing it actually does to you, giving you more health, and also if you're a solo player, will actually allow you to revive yourself, which amazing. I am loving all the additional information they're bringing out on for solo players, so really happy about that. Some of the other skills that aren't really used, your ballistic shield and support station, for example, they're going to be given a lot more health. Support station's healing as well is going to be increased, and I believe a lot of the bugs with those are actually going to be gone, so really happy with that. And those might actually become viable options in the future, which they need to be, because no one uses them. So saying that, another type of skill in the game is your signature skills. So let's move on to those, and I'll tell you how these are going to be changing also. So as of right now, Survivor Link is by far the most used signature skill, and rightly so. With 80% damage mitigation and it lasting for about 15 seconds, what do you expect? You can pretty much run away from anything, no problems. Obviously it increases your running speed as well, I believe. So it's very OP, but aside from that, you have your recovery link and your tactical link, which no one uses. So they are making big changes to your signature skills. So, Survivor Link, you're looking at 50% mitigation from now on, and they're actually lowering the duration of it down to 12 seconds, okay, I'm perfectly happy with that. 50% is still a lot. In regards to your other two, you're looking at Recovery Link, so they're actually trying some out in the public test server at the moment. What they are going to be doing is increasing its range, so it can now be used to revive dead players, and that's outside of the dark zone, and it will also give you more healing overall. But one of the new functionalities that they're looking into is trying to help solo players. Again, everything is based around solo players, which I'm so happy about, because the game needs it, and I'm a solo player, I love it, right? I want to hear more of this. So what they're looking into is, if you're playing solo and you have your recovery link off cooldown, the skill will automatically trigger when you're about to die. Okay, so as you're about to die, the skill triggers and it saves you from death, increases your health, and it lets you live to fight another day. It is a work in progress, and they are still trying to work on the mechanics of it, but that's what they're looking to introduce. Sounds amazing. Tactical Link. Now this one for me sounds amazing. Okay, so at the moment, this gives you a damage buff of 50%. It also gives you critical hit chance increase. So there is a slight nerf to it. Hear me out, okay? So they're actually reducing the damage buff from 50 to 30%, and they're actually getting rid of critical hit chance altogether. They haven't mentioned anything about how long this duration will last. Oh no, they have actually. Sorry, they are actually the duration for this will be 12 seconds, and they are introducing 3 new buffs to this instead. So weapon RPM, reload speed, and weapon stability. Okay, so that sounds pretty crazy. So what they're saying is that if you use this will result in like a shooting frenzy for like 12 seconds. Sounds very fun and satisfying. You know, if you've got some of that, for example, you've got an AR which only has 500 or 650 RPM, and you get this, and it goes up to 900 RPM, and you're getting that reload speed as well. You're getting that stability as well. Can you imagine how strong you will feel? And it just feel amazing, and it brings out that enjoyment that I believe the game needs. So for me, actually, Tactical Link is probably what I might actually use. You can imagine just being run down by two people, and you just prop this, turn around, and you just melt them because of the amount of RPM you're getting from your AR. The reload speed will be much more increased, and you're still going to be doing that extra damage as well, which ARs have high damage anyway, so the increase will be amazing. Sounds like you just turn around, melt two people, then run off. That's your Tactical Link used. Sounds amazing, and I'm really looking forward to using that. So guys, I want to end it here. As you can tell, there's a lot of massive changes coming to this, and I haven't even scratched the surface really. As I said, check out the notes, but check out the link below, which goes through everything. If you're unsure of what I've gone through, I'm sure I haven't made sense on all of it, then go and check it out below and see all the changes for yourself. I'm really happy that some of these changes that are coming out, signature skills, you know, Survivor Link being nerfed and the arrest being buffed, really happy with that. I'm glad they're balancing the weapons. I'm glad the biggest change for me and what I'm really happy about is the skills. I'm really happy that they're changing, you know, your pulse and your first aid, and everything seems to be going towards solo players, which is really good because I'm a solo player, and I'm really happy that they are actually looking into the solo player experience. But ultimately, this is all to improve the character balance in the game, which is really important. So let me know what you guys think. I'm sorry this video is so long, and I'm sorry I didn't cover everything. That just shows how much information is out there at the moment. But if you did enjoy the video, please like and subscribe, and I'll try and stay on top of all this information coming out. As I said, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Peace.